Good evening, Stampers. It is Thursday and it's time for Therapy Thursday. So I hope you will be joining me tonight. And I've got a fun card planned tonight. I am using the Lighthouse point stamp set again. I used the same stamp set last week, and I'm going to show you a different version of how to do another faux step card like we did last week. So last week's card, and I'm going to show it to you real quick, is this card right here. Let me move this out of the way. This card right here, and it stands up like that. Not sure if you can see that very well. You can kind of tell. So it looks like a step card, except for it doesn't have all the precise measuring. So this card is vertical. It's long ways top to bottom. The card that I'm going to show you tonight, I figured out how to do the same card, but it's going to be horizontal. So it's going to be shorter and wider. So I am going to show you that, and it looks completely different from this one. So we'll see what you like. So this, hey Laura, good to have you join us again. So like I said, we are using the Lighthouse point again, and the stamp set. Oh, well, I could have started early, but it's the clock on my computer, so who knows. But maybe I should just talk more for the first 2 minutes and then you don't miss anything. So, yeah, I've been going by the clock on my phone, so hopefully that's right. Maybe because you're in a different time zone, you've lost a couple minutes. I don't know. So anyway, we'll figure it out. So anyway, we are using this piece of paper right here. Obviously, doesn't look very nautical until you're going to see it on the card. So this piece of paper is part of the Rings of Love designer series paper that you can get for free as part of Celebration. So I'm going to show you that right now, and that way we can let other people have time to hop on. So this is the paper. You can see it's very fall looking. These are acorns and leaves, and let's do some of the other ones. There are birds, very pretty. There are some houses, which would make great I've moved cards or something like that. Then we've got some little mushrooms here that would go well with our little gnomes that are in the catalog, and some flowers that to me kind of look like poinsettias. On the back of these papers are tree branches, some tree rings, which is why they call this Rings of Love. Some kind of looks like medallion. This looks like water droplets to me. It would make good ocean cards. And there's this paper with the little leaves, and then this one, which is on the back of this. So this is the paper that I chose because I like the colors in it. So just because the rest of this paper looks nothing like anything that you would use with a lighthouse, seagoing, nautical kind of theme, don't overlook some of the back sides of your paper that have just kind of general geometric designs on it, because you can use those for anything. So that is the paper, and that's where I got it from. So there you go. All right, so we are going to go ahead and go over the measurements of the pieces that we need, and then we're going to do some cutting, we're going to do some scoring, we're just going to have a good time. All right, so this is the stamp set. I'm going to move it out of the way, and we'll come back to that. So here are the pieces that you're going to need. You will need, if you're making this exact card, you can use other colors of cardstock or other papers. So this is basic white thick cardstock, and it is 5.5 by 8.5. Our standard kind of card size. Then we need another piece of basic white thick cardstock, and this is 3.5 by 8.5. You can, so And then the other white pieces we need are just regular basic cardstock. Hey Pam Snyder, how are you? Boy, I miss seeing you. We need to get together. All right, so these are just basic white cardstock, and this is 5 1/4 by 3. This one is, it's gonna go this way. Let me flip my thing around. There, we got it going the right way. 3 1/4 by 4. This little circle here is a 1 1/2 inch circle. So I do have a circle punch that I punched this out of. You can also use the layering circles dies to cut one of these. There are some other die sets that also have circles. I did put my sentiment on here, so you can use a different shape if you want. I just chose the circles, and this is a 1 1/2 inch. So we'll stick a little thing there. And this piece is 5 1/4 by 4. So, which is kind of our standard size. We are going to do some cutting with this, and we're going to do some scoring on both of our basic white pieces. So I'm going to leave that here just for a second so you can see all of the measurements. Take a picture, screenshot it, come back to it later, but there's all your directions. Hey Julie, so nice of you all to join me tonight, and I hope you try this card while we're making it. Okay, so let's get started. I am going to move these pieces out of the way, and we're going to do some scoring on these two pieces. So let me get my trusty little trimmer scorer out here. Okay, so this is our 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. Got something on there. We are going to turn it to the long side. Sorry, is that right? Yes. So the long side is across the top. And we're going to do some scoring. So we're going to score this at 1 inch. This is real easy. Easy numbers to remember. Let me move my cutting blade out of the way first. You want to do that too if you have the same trimmer scored. Don't cut your paper, we're just scoring it. So we're going to score it at 1 inch. Then we're going to score it at 2 inches. And then, whoop, let me move my thing down. I can see I'm out of the camera here. There we go. All right, so we scored it at 1, then we scored it at 2, and then we're going to score it at 5 1/4. There we go. Now you all can see. Okay, so that is all the scoring that we're going to do with this piece. So we can set it aside for a minute. And then we're going to take this piece, which is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2, and we're going to score this one on the long side, and we're going to just score it right down the middle. So this is going to be at 4 1/4 inches. So we're going to score it right in the middle, just like that. Okay, and that is all we're going to do with the scoring. So I'm going to move that aside. This piece here, we're going to do some cutting. We're going to cut 2 pieces off of it. And the reason I didn't cut the pieces beforehand is because I want to cut it apart so that when it's on the card, the stripes on the pieces will match up. So if you have a directional piece of designer series paper like this one has an obvious direction to it, then you'll want to cut it the same way instead of cutting each piece separate. And I'll explain, we'll see how that goes in a minute. So I'm going to cut it on the short side. So this is the short side. So we're going to cut off 1/4 inch. And we are cutting, not scoring, so I am going to get my cutting blade out here. So we're just going to cut 1/4 inch off, just like that. Set that aside, and then we're going to cut off 3/4 inch. So I'm going to go over to the 3/4 mark, and we're going to cut it again, and we're cutting 3/4 inch off. So when I line it up on the card, even though the pieces aren't on the same piece, but they kind of line up, these lines going down will line up with each other. This one, it doesn't really matter. It's going on the inside of our card, but it was just easier just to do it all at the same time. So We are going to set those aside over here, put my trimmer away, and we're going to get out this piece. So I do need my fold folder. Get it out right here. So we are going to fold this on the crease marks or the score lines. Just going to give it a really good crease. So we folded that one under. This one we're going to fold up, and then the other one we're going to fold down. So it's going to be kind of like our card last week. So we are going to make sure we do that really good. I'm going to do this one because you want a really good crease. Excuse me. And our card is going to get folded up like this, so it will stand up so you can kind of see how it is kind of like a step card. All right, so, and then this piece, we're just going to go right down the middle, fold it right on the score line, and just give it a really good crease. And then this piece is going to go over the top like that, like our card last week, except for this is the other direction. So these pieces that we have, I'm going to unfold this here, kind of lay it flat. This piece is going to go right here in the middle. This piece is going to go down here, and you can kind of see, so when this is why I cut it the way I did. So when I fold it up, the lines are still lined up. So hope that all made sense. And we're just going to glue these pieces down as soon as I get my glue out. Oh, it's actually coming out good. All right. Glue is stuck over there. Make sure I got it going the right way. Nope, I don't. So just make sure when you put it back that it's going to line up with your other piece. Almost put it on upside down. There's that piece. This piece is going to go right there. Just make sure I've got this one going the right way too. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over because this is the inside of our card. So it's going to flip up like this. And this piece is going to go on our 5 1/4 by 3 piece, which is going to go on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and put that together now. Well, I've got my glue out, and then we're going to do some stamping. Right. So I am kind of putting it down close to the bottom because this isn't a real huge space to write on, so we want to make sure we still have a lot. And then I am going to go ahead and glue this to the inside since we're doing that. And that's going to go right there, just like that. And that's the kind of base of our card. So I'm going to put this aside, and then we're going to do some stamping. So this piece right here, which is a 3 1/4 by 4, this is what we're going to stamp on. And we are going to use some little different pieces. We are going to stamp this lighthouse and the stripes on it, similar like we did last week. We're going to use this big piece here to do a background. We're going to use this piece for water, and we're going to use this always here for you for the sentiment, and this triangle piece right here is a light beam, so we're going to stamp that too. So those are all the stamps we're going to use, and I'm going to show you the colors that we're going to do. Okay, so the biggest kind of blob piece, I'm going to set it down. You can tell I used it with some red ink by accident, by the way, because I wasn't paying attention. So this is Pool Party ink, and we are just going to make kind of a little background with this. So I'm going to ink this up, and we're going to put one of these up here like that. Oop, that's a little darker than I wanted. I might flip that over. I don't think I want it quite that dark. We're going to flip it over because I didn't want it quite that dark. I'm going to stamp off first. There we go. I wanted it lighter, so I'm going to stamp off first, and then I'm going to put another one kind of underneath so it looks like that. And then I'm going to put that away. And the reason I wanted it lighter is, I'm going to wipe this off real quick, is because we're also going to be using, the next color ink we're going to use is Coastal Cabana, which is going to be our water, and I want that to be darker than this. So this is the piece, it's going to go this way. So the straight line is the like water line. I think I have that on crooked, so let me just fix that. Otherwise, when I stamp it, it's going to be crooked on my paper. So we are going to use Coastal Cabana. And I'm just going to ink that up because we want this to be darker. And we're just going to kind of put it, yeah, about there. Yep, that's even darker than I kind of wanted to, but that's okay. It'll work. Oh, you know why? Duh. I put my stamp on upside down. How many of you have done that? No wonder it didn't look right. All right, let's try that again and do it on the right side. And I'm going to cut myself another piece of paper here. So this is like real life in action when you get the wrong side of your stamp. So let me find a piece of paper here. Oop. Hold on just a second. Right, so do not do like I do and stamp on the wrong, and put your stamp on upside down on your block. So I'm going to cut myself another piece of paper, and this is 4 by 3 1/4, so I'm just going to cut it by 4 right here. And 3 1/4 this way, and then we're going to stamp again. Don't you just love live stuff? All right, let's try this one more time. All right, Pool Party ink. We're going to stamp off first with the bigger blob. I don't know, blob is probably not the right word. I'm just going to stamp off and stamp off and stamp. There we go. All right, now let's try doing the other color. This is Coastal Cabana. This I now have on the correct way and not upside down. So we're going to stamp, and you're going to see the difference here in a second. Okay, this is the wrong side of the stamp, and this is the correct side of the stamp. So you can see, kind of looks very different. All right. So that is that. Now we are going to stamp our lighthouse. So I have a scrap piece that I'm going to stamp on. This is our lighthouse, and I'm going to stamp this in, this is crumb cake. I am going to stamp off a little on this too, so it's not quite so dark. So stamp right there. Okay, and let's wipe that off. Let me wipe my other one too before I stick my hand in it. All right, this is the stripes. I'm going to stamp that in red, real red. So this is the top right here. It's got like a little bar right here, and it goes right along that little, you line it up right with the little kind of top bar piece there. I just stuck my hand in the ink too. What a night. Okay. There we go. Put that away, get the ink off my hands so that I don't accidentally get it on my little lighthouse there. And while we have the red ink out, we're also going to stamp, I'm going to get it back out anyway, we're also going to stamp our sentiment on the circle. And this says, always here for you. And it just fits right on here. There you go. Okay. All right. Now we're going to cut this out. I'm going to move this up here because we don't need it. We're going to cut this out with the dies that come with the set. This is the Lighthouse dies, and there is a little lighthouse that is just the right size. And because this is little, I'm going to die cut it on the little mini one. And hopefully move that out of the way. Throw that on there. Put all our pieces on. Put our little lighthouse on here. And so that the die doesn't move, I am going to put a piece of little piece of Post-it tape on it. So sometimes I use removable stickers. This is Post-it. You can use it to label stuff. You can also cover up, but it does come right off. So I'm just going to get a little piece of that and put it right on here, right in the middle, so my die doesn't move. And there we go. And here it comes out the other side. And we're done. Whoop. Almost took out my light with that. We're done with those. This is just going to peel right up. This peels right off. And put that back with my dies so I don't lose it. And there is our lighthouse. So our lighthouse is going to go on the side over here, but I want to have a little light beam coming from it, but I'm going to stamp it, and I'm not cutting it out, so I'm just going to stamp it right on there. So I kind of need to know where my lighthouse is, and this is the skinny point, the skinny side. Make sure I put my stamp on there correctly. I did. And I want it kind of coming out from where the window is. So if I'm going to put it there, I want to stamp it right about there. So when I put this back, my light is coming out the window. But my windows aren't that color. So this is Daffodil Delight ink, and this is a Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends marker. I'm just going to take the skinny end and just color in my windows. Just like that. Here we go. Okay, so what we're also going to do is we're going to take some linen thread and we're going to wrap it around the bottom before we put that little guy on. So I'm just going to take a piece of this. Let's see which way I want to wrap it. I'm going to, let's do it this way. Hold on to it that way. Yep. And I'm just going to wrap it around twice. B-wrap twice. I'm gonna get my scissors and cut that off. I don't think that worked. There we go. Get that out of the way. And I'm actually gonna tie this in a knot, and then I'm gonna tie it in a bow. It's a little long right there, but that's okay. You can put a glue dot underneath it, which I've done a lot of times, but I figured out that I really like tying it in a knot first and then tying it in a bow. I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. And I can kind of get a good grip on it by holding it and doing that. So it's plenty tight enough. I do want to move it so that it is more toward the end, so I'm just going to bend my card a little bit and move my knot so it's closer to the side over here. And then just unbend it and you're all set. So we're just going to tie a little bow right there. Probably don't need it quite that long. So just kind of pull it a little bit. Get it nice and tight. You can put a glue dot underneath here to hold it on there if you like. I've done that too. I might do that. Just gonna kind of cut the end off. There we go. All right, so this piece is going to go on top of this piece. This is our tent piece, so we fold it in half. It's going to go on here just like that, but I'm putting dimensionals on the back. So we're going to do that real quick. So how's everybody doing? Hope you all are doing okay. So I've been making a lot of cards with these lighthouses. So my husband told me today that he actually read my blog post from the other day. So if you haven't read it, go check it out because I mentioned him in there. So he loves lighthouses. He always has. In fact, we have one of our bathrooms has all kinds of lighthouse pictures on it. But every time we go on a trip, if there's a lighthouse anywhere nearby, you can guarantee that we will be visiting that lighthouse and climbing it if you can, because sometimes not all of them are open. So, oh, my bow's upside down. Let's fix that. There we go. All right, so this is our little lighthouse guy. He's going to go right here. So we do want the light beam to line up. We are also going to put him on dimensionals. So if you go check out my blog post, I did put some pictures on of some of the lighthouses that we've been to. So we've pretty much been to them all up and down the East Coast, plus we've been to a couple in Illinois and in Wisconsin, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all kinds of places. So I am going to line up my little light because I do want it to line up with where I have the end of my beam. So we do want the beam to be coming out the window. We're going to put that there. This little guy right here is going to go right down here. He is also going to go on dimensionals because you know I'm dimensional happy. I do want them on the top and the bottom because I don't want to put the dimensionals over top of the string because sometimes then it gets kind of bumpy. So I know I missed a bunch of your comments because they were hiding from me. So hey Sharon and Meg. Who else I'm missing? There we go. I like that you all talk to each other. It's so much fun. All right, so that is the other part of our card, and now we're going to attach it to this one. It attaches just like we did last week. We're going to flip this over the top and put it on there. That is how it's going to go. So I'm going to actually open this up. We're going to put a little bit of glue right on the bottom. You don't want to put too much or too tall because it's only fitting on this one little piece right here. So I'm going to put that on there. You do want it to line up with the bottom, and you do want it to be even from side to side. So I'm actually going to turn it this way so I can make sure I've got it. I can eyeball it better this way. Make sure I've got it right. Line up the bottom. Kind of give it a little press. And then I'm going to flip my card over. And then we're going to put glue on the back of this. But I don't want to put it all the way up because then I'll glue the top of the card together, which we don't want. So I'm going to put it maybe about 2/3 up there. So I'm just going to kind of, draw my line there. Kind of doing this a little sideways. I need light on the other side also. Well, that's probably true because it does come out both sides of the window. In that case, I would have to put my lighthouse in the middle of the card so it could show. I'm just going to give that a good rub. And there is our step card. So you can see how it stands up. So if you put it on the side, it looks like that from the side. So, or this from the other side. And then when you open it up, there's a place where you write your message, and that's our card. So I am going to show you so this is a pretend or faux step card. I am going to show you a step card that I made probably almost way back in January, maybe February. So you can just kind of see the difference between the pretend one and this is a real one. So the real one is just one piece. This is 5.5 by 8.5, but you cut it down here on the side. So you have to do very precise cutting, and then you have to score it on either side, those two little scores. So it's a little bit harder. But so when you look at this one from the side, you can see that there are spaces there. Like you can stick your finger here. This one does not have that. This one is all solid. So if you can see that, it's all one piece. So that is kind of the difference. But if you look at them from the front, they kind of look the same. They're the same, you know, when you stand them up, they're the same, and they have the same space on the inside. The only difference is you have those cut things, and on this one, obviously you don't. So that's the difference between the real one, where you do all the precise cutting and measuring and cutting. By the way, my friend, who is also a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, her name is Kathy Winter. She is the one that showed me how to make this, so I want to give her a little credit there. She just showed us how to cut it, and then we put our own little design on it. This is one of the stamp sets that was part of February's celebration, so that's a little celebration one, and so is this one because the paper goes with that. So that's the difference between the cards, and this is with the step going horizontally. And then last week, if you want to go back and check last week, this is what it looks like if it was vertical, so which is also a step card. The same thing, but just the card's going a different direction. So there you go. There's your card. So I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I hope you'll give this one a try. So it's like I said, if you did last week's, then you should be able to do this one. The only difference is it's going the other direction, and obviously we stamped it a little bit different than we stamped the one last week, because that's the one last week you just actually did more stamping on our paper. And if you want to know where I got this idea to stamp the background like that, check out page 100 in your annual catalog, because you will see, let me find it, because I got my catalog. There you go. This is page 100 that has the stamp set on, and there was my inspiration for this card, right there. So, you know, if you're kind of stuck for what you want to do, check out the catalog. It's got lots of ideas, lots of samples. You know, even though this card is different, the stamping idea for this is very similar to that. So I just took that idea and just did a little different. So, you know, don't neglect your catalog. Look through it often, get ideas, and then, you know, try and make something that matches. So there you go. I hope you have a great week. So next week, I will be out of town on Thursday, so I'm going to do Therapy Thursday a day early. So it's going to be maybe Wacky Wednesday, Wonderful Wednesday. So next week, for those of you that like to tune in every Thursday, please tune in on Wednesday. I'll put a reminder up on my page so you don't forget. And I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful week. Good night. Thanks for joining me.